Should coworkers be friends? That's a tricky question. I'm a firm believer that the most cohesive workplaces are places where you have built relationships with your colleagues of trust. I think relationships are extremely important. If you can't stand the people that you're working with, odds are your work is going to suffer and so is theirs. But there does come a point where if you're building a relationship with someone, it might turn into more than just a colleague relationship. It might actually become a friendship. And I don't actually think that that's a bad thing. I think that that can be a good thing because that means that there are people that you spend time with every day who understand what you're dealing with professionally and might be a resource for you. It might be a support network for you. I can tell you I have an excellent relationship with my own boss and I consider him to be a friend. But I think what you have to be mindful of when you are making friends with colleagues or even with people who supervise you, is that you're colleagues first and that the job has to be what comes first whenever there's a conflict of priorities. I think it's also really important to think about the kinds of conversations that you have with supervisors, even the ones that you consider to be your boss. And I don't think it's not a question of honesty or not, it's a question of framing. If you want to have a conversation with your boss as a friend, I think that that's the way you should frame it. I'm not coming to you as a subordinate, I'm coming to you as a friend. Or if you want to talk to the person in the office next door and say, hey, can we have a conversation as friends? And get and just make sure that the person you're talking to understands what hat you're wearing. I do think you have to decide for yourselves what limits of conversation you want to place on friendships that are in the workplace, because it's not good news, but the simple fact is the conversations that you have, whether it's with colleagues or with bosses, it can affect your work. It can affect how you advance. It can affect whether someone else advances. And sometimes it can affect whether you keep your job or not. So I think you always have to be mindful of sort of the limits that you want to set for yourself. And it's not going to be the same for every person. Not every friend in your office is the same degree of closeness to you. And I think it's just knowing yourself very well, scrutinizing carefully each relationship and deciding here's the limit of my comfort with that particular person. And I think the really important thing about all of this is not to be baited into acting any way other than what you feel comfortable with, because someone might feel closer to you than you feel to them. That doesn't mean you owe them anything other than the friendship that you've already been giving them. So just make sure when you're building these relationships in the workplace that as they deepen, you are mindful of yourself and what you're comfortable with. You're mindful that it is a workplace, and you set the limits for yourself to what you are willing to say and share and not say and not share. And don't let that be dictated by anyone but you.